you cannot be a one-man show. You may come with any brilliant idea, but if you're not able to convince at least one or two other people about the beauty of your idea, there's no way you're going to be able to convince anybody else outside about your product or service. So learn at least the basics of collecting a team. No matter how bizarre the idea is, no matter how ridiculous it sounds at first glance, it will work provided you have the right support system to make it work.
Some people build companies, some people build careers, and then there are few people who build people. Today's guest has spent decades across technology, consulting, leadership, strategy, and beyond academia, also an aspiring yogi, someone who plays the violin beautifully, an author, animal rights activist, and now in entrepreneurship education. Welcome to another episode of School to Startup, brought to you by Tracxn. For over 12 years, Tracxn has been supporting the global university ecosystem through data and insights, working with institutions that are driving innovation and entrepreneurship. I'm Harish, your host today, and joining us is Professor Vasudev Murthy, Executive Director, School of Entrepreneurship at Rishihood University. Professor Murthy, it's great to have you with us today.
Thank you very much. Very kind of you for the nice introduction. Thank you so much.
Great. So you have worked across technology, consulting, writing, and now entrepreneurship education. That's a rare mix. So I have to ask you, was this journey carefully planned, or were you just very good at following the interesting problems?
I think those who claim they plan their careers to the last bluffing is not possible. Obviously, things happen along the way which make you rethink and then perhaps take certain calls, take certain decisions, and then in hindsight, it looks like strategy. But no, I didn't plan it. At the same time, I've obviously personally been an entrepreneur for a substantial amount of time before. After my long stint at Wipro Consulting, I was an entrepreneur for some significant amount of time. So therefore, and since I've been teaching at IIM Bangalore, I was teaching for many years. I've taught at other universities as well. So teaching, running workshops, training, etc., were anyway part of my portfolio, if I may say so. Therefore, entrepreneurial education was not really that difficult or to conceptualize and get involved with.
Very interesting. You've had such a wide range of careers across industry and consulting. What drew you into entrepreneurship education at this stage of your journey? And what excites you the most about building and shaping, the young entrepreneurial minds today?
Well, I obviously feel I would like to, I make a big statement here. Obviously, we all have made mistakes, and I want to find a way in which people at that particular, very sensitive age of 17 to 22, how can I help them to not make the same dumb mistakes that I had done, right? And what is so exciting is that this particular generation, unlike, for example, mine and certainly many more after mine, in our generation, the idea was safety, security, avoiding risks, and trying to make things as predictable as possible, which is exactly the antithesis of entrepreneurship in the sense that the desire to be an entrepreneur. So what I'm seeing is at least the very interesting candidates that I have been interviewing over the past several years for this particular university have in fact largely got that risk appetite, which I frankly did not have at that age, So the ideas they come up with, the vision that they have, the boldness, the courage, and what is even better is that their family also is supporting them in this particular venture. So when I have all these things working in my favor, the only thing they actually lack, if at all, is a little bit of foundational work, thorough understanding of marketing, thorough understanding of finance. They have that energy, they have that self-propelled desire to and motivation to succeed. But without those little missing pieces, their journey might actually be a bit of a problem. So I view myself more as a catalyst. I'm catalyzing things by providing them the right kinds of inputs with my brilliant staff that I have, faculty I have, and a lot of them are actually working on their entrepreneurial venture while they are at the university. which is important. I'm not going to wait for them, or they should not be waiting to finish the degree and then start a venture. The true acid test, or the proof of the pudding, if I may say, is for them to begin their venture actually while they are at the university. Okay, and many of them have actually succeeded, get the GST certification, company registration done. They have a little board, they have things. So I'm very, very excited about how things are so different and wonderful right now. And for me to play a part in this is very gratifying.
Amazing. Before we go further, a quick shout out to everyone watching. If you are enjoying this conversation, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe to the Tracxn channel, and click on the bell icon so you don't miss out on the upcoming episodes. Great. At Rishihood, entrepreneurship seems to be approached in a very hands-on way.
Yeah.
So when student comes into the School of Entrepreneurship, what are the most important skills or the mindsets you want them to develop?
Okay. So again, we are very careful about who we admit. I think we're becoming more and more selective, which is a good thing. Okay, and we are not here interested in the fluency of language or complex, nuanced conversation. We look for what's in their eyes, the tone of their voice. These are very interesting, subjective, but very important clues of how they're likely to be. The body language, all those things are certainly important. And if they start talking about job placements after the thing, then we know that they're not ready for this yet, right? So again, as I mentioned to you, we want people who like risk. We want a little bit of confusion, in the sense we want them to be so busy in their heads that they've thought of 1, 2, 3, 4 ideas, and they have all these things. So again, it is and have they actually tried something? Have they tried something new? Have they tried to buy or sell? Have they failed? How have they handled failure? Again, we look for things like their ability to get along with people, which is difficult to judge in an interview, but we try our best. We oftentimes ask, how will others benefit from you when you join? And also, what are you looking for in your classmates, and so on? So those kinds of attitudes are easy to pick up. We want those guys to have those skills. They must obviously be fluent with numbers, and we do create situations for them. We put them against the wall, because it's easy to simulate with fake money. But we actually we have a certain system. Again, I don't want to market the program, but I'm just saying we give them a situation where they have to deal with actual money and they stand to lose that money. Okay, it's a possibility. And obviously give them tools. For example, Tracxn is one tool that we would want them to develop a more sophisticated, nuanced understanding of the dynamics of what they're trying to do. So I don't expect them to be fully skilled. I don't expect them to be fully knowledgeable, but they have to have something, some detectable quality, some fire within, that during the interview process between me and one of the couple of people, we should be able to find that. And we are finding that boys and girls from across India are really pretty cool these days about what they want. And we are very, very happy with what we're seeing.
Right. Talking about what they want, you have spent years working with organizations, leaders, and now student founders. So in your experience, what usually comes first in a student founder's journey? Is it clarity, confidence, or confusion pretending to be confident?
See, I'm okay with confusion. They actually want a lot of reassurance that it's okay for them to think. And I'm saying this again carefully. It's true that not all ideas are very well thought through. It is true. But at that tender age, when they're just experimenting with ideas, for me, my job is to make them feel good and explore that idea further, rather than constantly poke holes and say this won't work, that won't work. Of course, sometimes it doesn't actually work, but sometimes it's also good for them to find out the hard way. Having said that, I tell them that you cannot be a one-man show. It's not going to be that much. I definitely say you may come with any brilliant idea, but if you're not able to convince at least 1 or 2 other people about the beauty of your idea, there's no way that you're going to be able to convince anybody else outside about your product or service. So learn at least the basics of collecting a team. No matter how bizarre the idea is, no matter how ridiculous it sounds at first glance, it will work provided you have the right support system to make it work. And for that, they need those skills. And that skill is, again, it's not easy. Not everybody has those people skills. They may be very intelligent, but if they're very sharp and then they're abrasive and they don't listen, etc., then the best idea is going to die as soon as possible. So again, we're creating a large number of frameworks, structures, activities, etc., which force you to to learn how to work in a team. For example, things like hackathons, right? Hackathons force you to do that. So force you to hold your opinion back, listen more, and so on. So these are some of the things that I think are pretty helpful in making them successful. But having said that, again, not everybody, even those who do come along, we find that when they come, they may lose self-confidence, or they may have some other challenges which prevent them from making any immediate decision. In other words, I'm being fair here that everybody has a different learning curve, or an ability to get to where they want to be. A bright person in an interview comes over here and suddenly finds himself surrounded by equally bright persons they didn't realize. And that may actually pull them down a little bit. So they need about a year to flower and start taking risks, and having the guts to come and ask faculty, should I do this? Should I not do that? What do you think about this? And our job, as I said, is to catalyze it, to give them the gentle push so that they take some firm step knowing that we are right behind them.
Very interesting. Zooming out a bit, you have seen startups up close from different angles.
Yeah.
What are some of the common mistakes you see early founders making, especially in India?
Well, I already hinted at one of those things, was the inability to collect a cohesive team together, right? When the idea and the person becomes so ingrained that the idea is not distinguishable from that one person, and he's not able to share or delegate, doesn't know how to step back, etc., etc., then that thing will take a short burst. The idea will come across, but then people will not want to work with that person, because the person is not a person who's willing to listen to other advice or make those pivots as required, or is not polite. Simple human things. But if the person is a bit too intelligent and is unable to even fathom the another opinion, then we certainly will have a problem.
Interesting. And coming back to campuses, what does a truly entrepreneurial campus culture look like, really?
Yeah. This morning alone, 4 students came along to discuss all kinds of bizarre ideas. One was about a vending machine idea. Okay, somebody had something about some pharmaceutical idea. Somebody wanted to do some merchandising idea. So first of all, a constant movement of students discussing ideas with the faculty, and the faculty feeling comfortable dealing with the faculty, talking to the faculty itself is a very big thing, because they need an adult figure sometimes to validate their thought process. And obviously, I do that all the time. Then the constant activities happening here. We have hackathons happening. We have something called a business case competition, which is running through the entire semester, and the cash prizes at every particular milestone. Okay. Then we have certain kind of financial incentives. Again, if I talk about that, it'll sound like marketing. I don't want to do that. But we make them work with money right away. We make them get a demat account on day one. And we also give them this incentive of financially backing their ventures, provided they convince us about it. Very soon, in the 3rd semester, 4th semester, they can start getting access to minimum amount of money, so that, as I said, they register the company, etc. So, those are the kinds of things. As long as there's a buzz, there's chaos, there's some noise, that means there's a sign of a healthy culture where entrepreneurship of whatever kind. We've had things in handicrafts, we've had things in pharmaceuticals, we've had things in vending machines, we had all kinds of very, very interesting. In fact, in men's hygienic products, believe it or not. So as long as there's always bubbling ideas, even if the 100 ideas come along and one of them or 2 of them succeed, that's fine. As long as people are active, there's a lot of noise in the corridors, contests are happening, emails are going back and forth, sense of dynamism. That means something's working.
Interesting. And since Rishihood has been using Tracxn in different ways, I would love to know how it's been useful for your student, faculty, and all entrepreneurship initiatives.
See, the thing is, I will not be able to pinpoint one specific thing, but first of all, the very fact that we have invested in Tracxn, which is a powerful tool and database, gives a very right signal to the students that there is this incredibly valuable resource that's available. You better take advantage of it. Okay. And they learn then to study other companies, how they have worked, how what has happened, what has not happened, with a little more sanity. There's some proper data. There's something which gives the whole idea credibility. So I'm saying it. I will not be able to pinpoint that this particular company succeeded because of that. But I'm again pointing out it's at arm's length. Many people do use it. They validate it sometimes in their class projects or presentations. They actually refer to Tracxn, that when we looked at Tracxn, we found this, etc. So that's bolsters their self confidence, that they have some some sense to back it up, right? Otherwise, it's just intuition, and sometimes intuition is not necessary, right? So these are hard facts that validate their thought process, and I think that's a very good thing. Does that answer your question?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
And finally, for students watching today, what's one piece of advice you would want them to carry with them if they are serious about building something, meaningful?
So I have this young man who's very irritating. Okay. I say that in the sense that he's always coming every day, twice the day he's coming to discuss ideas with me. Now, I think that's a very nice thing. Even if I may be tired, I may be doing something else, but this guy is walking in, discussing stuff, you know. So the ability to articulate confidently, have the guts to discuss an idea, and be willing to, find a mentor somewhere. Perhaps for this guy, I'm a mentor. Somebody else may be a different mentor. But this is something that I also frankly missed in my college life. I didn't have a mentor. And I do recall that a faculty mentor in particular, I mean, it put me into a very odd situation. Maybe a different generation, this different time, where these concepts are not well understood. But you do need a sympathetic person who you can identify with and connect with. It need not be me. It can be a number of other professors who are equally, it's also a matter of chemistry. So the advice simply have is, first of all, about team building, which I've talked about earlier. The second thing is to find a mentor somewhere who is invested in you emotionally, not necessarily financially, but wants you to succeed. And those people are not necessarily easily available. It takes some time to find that person. So we have aggressive mentorship program, and I will say it's good for some students, but it's not good for some students because we have not necessarily found the right chemistry connection. But again, and this is through our life. These days we talk about life coaches and we talk about executive coaching, etc. But at a very early stage, at the entrepreneurial level stage, you need someone who's supportive, who's encouraging, and whatever mad idea you have, prepared to mentor you and giving you some kind of a direction to give you self confidence. That's what I would. That's the kind of advice I would like to give.
Amazing. Professor Murthy, I honestly feel 30 minutes isn't nearly enough to capture all the wisdom. In
No
fact, the
problems.
ideas and the stories from your journey, it feels like we have only scratched the surface. But thank you
Thank you.
very much for being part of this episode. This has been such a rich and insightful
Thank you.
conversation.
It's been a pleasure from my side to be able to discuss this matter with you. Thank you.
Great then. And to everyone watching, if you enjoyed this conversation, do like, comment, subscribe to the Tracxn channel and click on the bell icon so stay updated on more episodes of School to Startup. Thanks for watching.